Alright, what's up y'all, it's LakerFan here, back at it again with ranting video number 152 of double play locks on 2v2 court. So, I hope y'all enjoy the video. If you do, feel free to drop a like, sub if you're new, turn on them noties, all that good stuff. Let's try this 1,000 likes in the first 24 hours. And as you can see by the title of the video, we got two toxic locks getting exposed in this 2v2 court. I want this to be the most peaceful exposed video ever, alright? I'm gonna be showing you guys some messages that they sent to me and AK, but I just don't want you guys sending any hate back to them or any malicious things in their comments or their messages or anything like that. Just keep this peaceful, alright? But I am going to show you guys the mindset of how these YouTubers have brainwashed some of these people to believing that the stuff that they're doing in this isn't toxic and how my play style is toxic, especially on this 2v2 court. So anyway, moving along. We got shots top 5. I call him AK. He's on the offensive threat, 6'1", 29 interior defense, and like 32 block or something, right? Now, we already know the struggles we're going to face when coming in with this lineup, right? Obviously, if we play against double play locks, they're just going to play patty cake, give the ball to the guy that AK is defending, and we're going to have problems because when you have one guy who has horrible interior defense on this 2v2 court, it will be exposed, and my great interior defense is pretty much pointless. So main reason for that is exactly what you're seeing on the screen right now. They got double ball handlers, just going to give the ball to wherever AK is and where I'm not, and rightfully so. That's what you should do if you're going against a 6'1" with no defense, and we're here to talk about all that in today's vid. But speaking of video number 152 of me ranting about something, let's talk about this build system again. So at the big man spot, you can see two-way playmaker. That pretty much tells me that he's a play lock, obviously, and he's probably some sort of like playmaking glass cleaner to some extent. He's probably 6'7" if I had to assume. But this dude on the right, he's a slashing playmaker slash takeover, small forward. I've shown you guys how to even make that build right there specifically with sharp takeover, and it's a play lock. So it's just all types of stuff when it comes to the misleading and misunderstood things with these build systems, and it's super frustrating and super annoying to deal with. But nonetheless, like I said, I'm pretty positive this is double play locks. If it's not a play lock with this dude who's in the plaid, then I'm pretty sure he's a pure play. But either way, you get the deal. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoy the video. We're here to talk about all this stuff, alright? So, like I was saying, generally what they're going to do is if I try to switch on to this guy, boom, they're going to go to the other guy, right? And then it leads to wide open shots like that pretty often, and we just have to hope that people can't shoot. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Defense is awful with this lineup. It's god awful. I mean, it's literally almost impossible to play sometimes where somebody can just come in with double ISO. Like I was telling y'all, they're just going to go at AK's head all game, and then we get to deal with the good old wonders of playing against two locks on the other side of the court, while it's just the easiest thing in the world for them to score on us because all I have to do is just baby AK in the paint, right? So I already know, you guys don't have to tell me, this lineup is awful for 2v2, and this is the problem. It never used to be this way. You know, it used to be like guard and big meta, right? Screen setter, point guard coming off it, and look at this. I mean, it's just gonna be the same thing over and over again. Now we try to counter this and do something about it, right? But it's just too hard at the end of the day to be floating around and me having like help defense off the corner every single time. And that's why I show so much respect to the way Ticino plays too, because it's very similar to this, except he plays with an outside big man. But you guys get the deal. It's almost the same thing. He has horrible interior defense, but his build is more meant for, you know, just being a good playmaker, good shooter, and stuff like that too. But it is just impossible to overcome the play locks with the ISO in this game, because not only do they slash just about as good as a pure slasher, but they also have Hall of Fame dimers. You can't help off the corner or the wing like that. And they also have the ability to speed boost, and they still have Hall of Fame defense. So I mean, what do you do about it at that point? And you see I try to rotate off that on the inbound, and I'm just over here jumping like a fool. And, you know, there are stick skill things in this gameplay that you're going to see that I could have played a whole lot better as well, as far as rotating off the corner, being better with my chase downs, stuff like that when I was stuck on ball. But right here you can see I get a nice little stop where, you know, just good old playmaker takeover is almost useless, where you just always get ripped with it for no reason. I just don't understand that. They really need to fix that as well. But anyway, again, you're going to see we're coming out here running the pick and rolls, right? And almost every single take that we get is either going to be a contested shot or a contested finish. And not always are the percents going to say it, but someone's always going to be near us. Why? Because it's not about as easy as just, oh, he's playing me high, I'm going to run right past him. Oh, he's playing me low, I'm going to just shoot it. That's not exactly how this stuff works. It's a lot of teamwork, a lot of chemistry, a lot of communication in this. And I never want to come across as biased. I want you guys to understand. I will show love to ISO when it's done properly and, you know, is respectful and stuff like that too. And I will also bash pick and roll when it's easy. Like for instance, the way that I see some of these people run pick and roll in these wagers where they just come out here and do that fade from mid-range stuff and throw up free boards every single time, I will agree. That stuff is very minimal skill gap. I don't think that takes much skill in the first place. You can literally hit earlies and stuff like that. Like if AK were to shoot right there, and he will shoot some of those, I'm not going to lie. You're going to see in this game, there's a couple things that happen where you're going to say like, oh, that takes like literally no skill to do. And I do agree. Those close shots, it's very simplistic and it's pretty toxic as well. So now this play right here is pretty much the epitome of running pick and roll on 2v2, where, you know, it's just tough. I mean, when they got double locks, they can switch everything. I have to be on point with my slips. Like, for instance, you're going to see I try to dip right here, but the dude's just barely behind me. I get a tomahawk and he chases me down from behind. So what I'm saying is I did everything right there. I probably could have gone just a little bit sooner, but this is super unfortunate for them, but you guys get the deal. This is pretty much the idea of what they're going to do. Baseline dunk. I don't know how in the world he misses that, to be honest with you. This dude AK has bronze intimidator. I guess I have Hall of Fame, and I don't think it was really close enough, to be honest with you, but there's really no reason for him to miss that. That was just super unlucky, if we're being completely honest. And don't sit here and use that to try and like make the argument of like why it's not as easy to do as I think it is, because that like literally is a 1 in 100 thing, probably 1 in like 200 thing to ever miss a dunk like that, especially with AK on him. But anyway, this is the stuff I'm talking about. Like, bro, you guys would think like, oh, that's a lucky lob. I want to explain to you guys, there's a lot of thought in like really small window for failure here that I'm talking. So I talked about this yesterday. I didn't really exactly show it off too well, but this is where I'm curling it off for a lob. I called it out, told AK to look for me on the lob right here. The big was hedging a little bit in the previous plays. He didn't really do it too much here. And I actually did get kind of lucky with this, but there's two things that could go wrong for me and AK right here. And I want you guys to understand how much communication, chemistry, and execution it takes to be even able to do stuff like this, especially with the double locks, where the guy on the backside is a lot more mobile than, say, for instance, you know, like a typical big man. So peep this. I curl it off. If I don't curl it off, this is a horrible lob and just a horrible pass. Now, if AK doesn't throw the lob right here, then it's a horrible pass just in general, because the big man is sitting right on that lane. He would have easily intercepted that. Beautiful window right there. Like I said, it was really small room for error that we would have had right there. And those are the struggle plays that you literally have to do occasionally while running pick and roll, especially with the double lock stuff, where, like I said, it's so much mobility from the backside. It's hard for me to really execute on every single play, because as soon as I hold the screen, look at that, then they get the switch off and the big man's on him. Now, this is one thing that we typically do every single time, right? But peep that. Now I get like pre-switch, we call it, right, where the guy in red dropped early to be able to, you know, stop my roll pretty much. And I just don't understand how people can sit here and think that it's not hard to do stuff like that. Now this right here, this is that toxicity I'm talking about, all right? It's low shot clock. Look, if y'all want to blame anything, you can sit here and talk about that thing that you think takes so much skill in Pro-Am, because this is where AK picked up these garbage, you know, freaking super toxic tendencies of doing the post fades and stuff. You literally never did that stuff before we played Pro-Am, and then boom, here we come, and it's just like people in Pro-Am, if you get locked up, you just take it to the post fade every single time. It's super toxic, and you're gonna see we're getting locked up again. But I hit the slip. This is what I'm talking about. It's so little room for error, and you can see I just get a really good dunk animation. That's what you rely on at that point too, is to not get sold out by your dunk animations in the pick and roll game. Now, this is where my second style of, you know, play style comes out, where it's the slashing stuff, right? And then people will sit here and say like, oh, you're a paint master, all you do is just take it to the hoop, you don't even shoot when you're wide open, like toxic rim run BS. And this is a really hard example to draw for you guys, but I'm gonna do my best. All right, so I'm gonna just use my teammate Dope, for instance, right? Earlier in the year, we would run finisher and play lock, where he was at the 1, I would just come out here and literally ISO whatever they had at the 2, no matter what, right? So when I would do that, sometimes I'd have to still dunk on a 7'3" dude, pure rim, who has literally 30 defensive badges and 99 block. So be it. That was my matchup. I had to go dunk on him. And the fact of the matter was I couldn't shoot. So even if I had Dope on my team and their point guard was 6'1", he could be 5'7" for all I care. There's nothing we can do about it. I can't shoot in the corner, so no matter what, I'm the only one who can finish, because if we tried to give the ball to Dope and tried to have him baby someone like AK, it doesn't work like that because I can't shoot, right? So this is where a lot of people will just say what I do is toxic, but at the same time, anybody who comes out here with double point guards and like double ISO, right, and just takes it at the weak link, your job is literally to just dunk on somebody who has probably like 30 interior defense if they're running a lineup like ours. Whereas my job is to just dunk on no matter who it is at the 3, no matter what, just go at him all game, and for all I care, it could be 30 defensive badges, 99 block, and 7'3". So tell me how that's toxic. Tell me how me just taking it at the biggest guy on the court, no matter what, is toxic. Now, I didn't do that in this game, obviously, right? I'm coming out here setting picks because that's the trade-off. I have to, you know, it's only one or the other. I can't run pick and roll with somebody who has good defense. So it's either I make a decision and I play with somebody who has good defense and I have to deal with that problem of me isoing the big all day, or I play with somebody who has awful defense but good enough offense to where I can run pick and roll. It eases up a lot of those situations. Now, I will say, not many people run rim, like pure rims anymore, or anything that's like super tall, because of the fact that my build is no longer 2v2 meta by any means, because play locks just rule, right? So because of that, I feel like I could come out here with the play lock a little bit more and get back to the style that I used to, because just by nature, there's not many tall people who come in here at the 2, and I could do pretty decent when it comes to that. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of people who just talk about what I do and say that it takes no skill, but they would never dare to hop on this build because it's trash and it's just horrible for 2v2. And like I said, to make it work, you have to run with a teammate who's also horrible for 2v2, and it just leads to really being able to lose to anybody. Now, we won this game. You do see that. Now, I want to show you guys some messages real quick. So this right here is pretty much exactly what I was just talking about. Now, let's just talk about the first 2 messages, right? I love your vids. That was right before he played us. Then right after he played us, I thought you was good, but you not at all. Screens take skill, SpongeBob letters, right? Like, just as sarcastically, right? So, first of all, I don't see how you could watch that game and think that, like, what they did was not easier to do than what we did, to be honest with you. Now, maybe I'm just biased, I guess. I just don't think that, you know, it took much mindset or much thinking or much execution to do what they did. All they literally had to do was hop dunk a little 6'1" dude all game, right? Am I right or am I wrong? Let me know in the comments. Am I right or am I wrong? All right. So anyway, then he proceeds to say, every build you got, you just rim run and think you're good. Next vid, you should let shots ISO. So then I just told him, how about I let AK ISO you and you have to ISO me? Only that. Nobody else touches the ball. I'm spotting up corner all day. If you want to double off me, so be it. Then he says, I got 30, you got 30 defense, I got 15. And then boom, here's it. So here's the in-game messages, right? Now I'm gonna let you guys see that in just a sec, but here's a look at AK's build, right? 6'1", 35 interior D, 29 block, 31 defensive rebound, and then we fast forward to the defensive badges. You can see, I mean, this dude literally has bronze intimidator. So I do understand. I want to get this out of the way because I feel like there's going to be people in the comments talking about, well, how could you complain about him getting babied when you're playing 2v2 with that garbage build in the first place? Like I said, I understand that, but I just don't understand how you could at the same time say that what we're doing takes less skill than what they're doing. I don't understand that in the first place at all. So like I said, the plan coming in the second game was that AK was going to ISO and that they were only allowed to ISO me. I thought we had a pretty, solid agreement on that. I felt like that would prove a point here and that AK could come out here and try to ISO. And even if he was going to struggle, because as you can see, he definitely did early on. I mean, he literally turned the ball over on the first time he touched the ball, and it is what it is. Like I said, his build is not meant to ISO, but I was still down for it. I was down to see what they had as far as ISOing me, and if it meant that they weren't going to baby him in the paint, then it is what it is. But as you're going to see, they didn't hold up their part of the agreement right here. Now, I don't know what was going on with this part, but anyway, I was thinking I wanted to switch on to this Von dude, but this guy came out here with the ball, right? And then at this point, I mean, he just runs away from his teammate as soon as possible. I try to switch off. You know the deal. I mean, it's literally the same exact thing over and over again. If I ever help off, they're going to dot me in the corner. It's about as simple as that. AK that has bronze intimidator with like not much perimeter defense either to be able to contest that. You can see he just instantly runs away from me. So at this point, I was like, okay, let's just prove a point. Even if we lose this game, let's just prove a point and see how easy it is to do what he does in comparison to me. Now, keep in mind, if I were rim running, I'm going at somebody who probably has 90 plus block, has Hall of Fame intimidator, rim protector, all types of stuff like that, right? And you can see as soon as they try to go at me, boom, it gets poked. They're like, all right, back to the rim when we go on the 6-1. So, like I said, just keep in mind, guys, I do understand the problems and the irritation things that we deal with this lineup. Like I said, you can literally lose to anybody with this thing. But again, he's just running right away from me, just hop dunks, goes up for the standing layup. I want you guys to watch what goes on in this game, all right? Now, I was just like, minding my business in the corner at this point. I'm like, okay, AK, you just guard him. Let's see what happens with this stuff. I want to prove a point at the very least. Boom, rim run again. All right, cool. So you guys can see how easy that is, right? Obviously, right? It's now a lot of people's like mindset and their preconceived notion of what I do. They think it looks like that. They think it's just me running at the hoop, holding X, as simple as that, as if people have to play up on me like I can even shoot in the first place. So they don't. First of all, people don't even have to guard me up, right? Second of all, I have 65 ball control, not like 80 or like 85 or anything like that. But also, I don't have the luxury of just finishing on 6-1s. Nobody's stupid enough to have a 6-1 on me because I don't ever play with somebody on my team either who demands a taller defender. So literally every single time it's going to be me going at their biggest matchup. So in this situation, if it was our team, like say my two different play styles, right? Say I'm playing with AK and it's pick and roll where I'm playing with him at the 1. And then on the other team is a clone of me and I'm at the 2 as well, but I'm playing with Dope. And like I said, it's a really hard comparison to try and draw, but just imagine pretty much that the guy in red is a clone of my finisher and the guy in the plaid is Dope with a play lock. We don't have the luxury of doing this because I can't shoot from the corner. So even if there's a little baby matchup like AK in the paint lined up on the guy at the 1, it doesn't matter. I still have to come out here and dunk on my finisher. I have to dunk on the guy that has great defense because I don't have the luxury of just going and hiding in the corner when I have a good defensive matchup on me. I'm taking it at their best defender every single time, no matter what. And that's what a lot of these guys in the ISO offense, when they run double ball handlers, don't do. And that's just a fact of the matter. And the problem is, as well, when you run double ball handlers, you would think like, oh, well, their defense must suck. Like, I had this conversation with AK last night after this game was over. Like, if you look at Joe's LeBron build, right? The finishing and playmaking pie chart, and then he has good shooting as well. But he has one defensive badge. When you look at a Playlock's offensive output, like what it can do, it can shoot really well, it can obviously speed boost, it still gets contact dunks. To have all three of those things, it sounds pretty similar to Joe's LeBron build, right? But you know what isn't similar? Is that Joe's build gets one defensive badge. These Playlocks get 20 of them, and they get 80s and 90s in the defensive ratings. He has literally like 70s and 40s in certain areas. But anyway, my whole point is that you would think the offensive output of a Playlock would be something similar to what you would have to do with the Joe build, where you would have, you know, the pretty solid offensive ability that they have, where they have good shooting, can speed boost, and get contact dunks, but you would think their defense has to be awful. But the fact of the matter is, there's people who come out here and do that stuff, but they literally still have 20 defensive badges in their Hall of Fame lockdown defender builds, while still being an offensive demigod. It's just unreal. The way that they allowed these Playlock pie charts and even the two-way sharps at point guard to like be so versatile when it comes to the drive game, the playmaking and speed boosting ability. And honestly, I don't know what really causes that, but anyway, we're going to get back to the commentary here. You're going to see, nice shot by AK right there. He does white it, but he still makes it. And this is where we started to get serious, right? I switched on to that dude with the slash take as soon as it popped on, because I was like, all right, point proven enough. He just, you know, rim ran every single play on you. Didn't really take anything, any mindset or anything like that. And that's what I'm really here to talk about, guys. Like, I understand. For me, if I had a 6-1 PLAYSHARP lined up on me, I completely understand. I could do that blindfolded. I could literally come out here and just hold down on the stick, and it would work every single time, most likely, because the bad interior defense is truly a problem. But when we talk about the stuff when it comes to the whole slashing is OP but not slashers, it's exactly what I'm talking about, why slashers just don't function on 2v2 very well anymore. Or when I say slashers, what I mean is my finisher build that can't shoot. To be a slasher who cannot shoot the ball, it's so problematic, because you can't just play this hideaway, or you can't play the keep away and just give it to the weak defensive matchup, because of situations like I talked about when I'm playing with Dope, where I just am forced to, you know, take it at their best defender because I can't go spot up and shoot. And really, it comes down to, well, why do you have a build who can't shoot on 2v2 court? You are right, I should have that. But anyway, peep this right here. So they get the switch, right? We get the big man onto AK. Whenever this happens, I usually call for a rescreen slip, especially when the shot clock is low. So you can see 7 seconds left. Now, I already know their original matchup. They're cool with having that original matchup back. So as soon as I fake a screen, they're thinking for the red to switch back onto me and the guy in the plaid to switch up to AK. And we execute really well on this, but this is the thing I'm talking about with this pick and roll stuff against two locks. You deal with things like this very occasionally, where just for whatever reason, I get chased down, blocked, and just like that, we have to give the ball back to the people who have ridiculous offensive abilities, and they can just play they can just play keep away from our point guard. It's about as easy as that. And like I'm saying, I just don't understand the mindset behind people who think that it takes more IQ, more stick skill, and more, like, you know, execution to be able to beat us with this lineup than it does for us to beat other people with this lineup. Can somebody explain to me who is like biased? Like, if you know that you're biased and you ISO and you think that ISO takes more skill than pick and roll, because, you know, in certain situations I do absolutely agree. ISO does take more skill than pick and roll in a couple situations. But yo, obviously you can see I come out here, hit the slip, but somebody please tell me if you actually think that beating a 6'1" build on 2v2 takes more skill by ISOing that thing than it does for you to stop him in the pick and roll sets. Like, do you really think that that's the truth? I just want to know. But anyway, you can see we get AK in the ISO with the bigger guy, right? And we were okay with this the whole time. And like I said, I'm pretty confident shooting from that left corner as well. I didn't really have to throughout this whole game because AK was just baking this dude up. But peep this. I come out here, I set the screen. We're trying to get AK switched on to that guy in red because they're just willing to play sides, you know, throughout the whole game. But sometimes if I don't hold the screen, they don't switch it. So there was just a lot of complications as far as that. You could see, obviously, like I said, they got a lot of chase downs on me and stuff like that. So on this possession, that actually doesn't happen now that I watch this back, where pretty much we just failed to get AK open on every single screen. Also, people how like it's not that hard to get through these picks when I'm like actually thinking like to be slipping sometimes too. But look at this. I mean, you mean to tell me that that's just like hard to get through at all times, and the big man still gets a 20%? Because like I said, if you have solid hedge defense and solid speed, it's not too hard to do so. But anyway, now he's back to the pick and roll stuff, hits the fade right here, greens it, and like I said, those shots, they are a little bit mindless. I will say the deeper it is, the more you actually have to time it, because they just don't go in if it's late or early. But you guys know the close shot cheese, that stuff is super toxic. Anyway, this one right here, you're gonna see we're gonna just work him to that guy in red, and we're gonna let him ISO him. But I mean, bro, it was just reaching city out here, so you guys can see obviously it was delaying the inevitable somewhat. And it is smart to do that as well when the shot clock's below 14, because obviously you can get it reset and it becomes a whole lot harder to just ISO like that. But anyway, you can see I go to left corner, but I mean, he just hits the quick stop and bangs it. I mean, now look, that's where I want to know what you guys think of this right here, because this is us picking on a certain defender that we want, right? And this is where we run the screen to force the switch, whereas they just give it to a different ball handler. So this is where I can call myself out on the toxicity, because this is AK quote unquote ISOing the big man, right? But they didn't want the big man on AK. They didn't really want that, right? They probably wanted the point guard on him for mobility and speed reasons. So we forced the switch. Now, I will call myself out on that and say that's almost the exact same thing as just running, like, you know, giving the ball to the other guy and just forcing him to defend him. However, here's the thing. We're forcing the switch to where the dude in red is guarding AK, right? But the fact of the matter is, you'd think that's our mismatch, but he still has 20 defensive badge and he's still a Hall of Fame lockdown defender. And I'm spotting up in the corner with my finisher, which has 52 three-pointer, all right? Now, the inverse thing as far as what they do is they give the ball to the guy that is being guarded by AK, where he has 1 defensive badge. Like I was saying, it's just, I don't understand how you could sit here and like think that that's the equivalent, or that what we're doing is more toxic than the guys that we're playing against just because we're quote unquote running screens. Like, bro, if you have 2 locks, you should be able to stop screens easily. And all you have to do realistically is get 1 or 2 stops throughout the whole game, and you should be good enough at slashing to where you are just dominating that 6-1 all game. Or off of Hall of Fame dimer, when I have to drop off the corner, you can just bang every shot. Because fact of the matter is, there's a lot of people out here in this game, and I could too, that can just green every single shot they take and catch and shoot with like 65 three-pointer and 10 shooting badges. So I rest my case. I want to know if you guys agree or if you don't agree. I did say this is gonna be a non-toxic video, but listen, I get heated sometimes, all right? And I feel like I've explained myself enough throughout this video to where you guys understand what I'm saying as far as the difference between me paint mashing against a big versus a playlock paint mashing against this right here. Because I can 100% say, if I'm just hop dunking all game on this build, yeah, I'm never gonna miss. It's pretty much a given. And then if I know that the corner is gonna have to drop down and help, it's very easy to just kick out and allow him to green off that. And same goes for, it's probably an easy offensive rebound as well, because at that point, then, you know, I'm maybe gonna jump out and try to contest him and stuff like that too. And then you still have this goof right here with 31 offensive and defensive rebound and like super low vertical at 6'1". So anyway, my whole point is, I call it like I see it. I'm not biased in any way just because of my play style, but to sit here and look at this 6'1" and say that if you hop on the 2v2 court with this build that you're not at a disadvantage, you're just tripping, especially if it's against double play locks. That's nonsense. This is the easiest walking bucket to score on right here. And I'm not saying that, you know, they're toxic for going at him. I'm just saying they're toxic for saying that it takes no skill for us to be doing what we're doing when they're being super hypocritical and just hop dunking him literally all game. And they call me a paint masher, but all they do is just give it to the guy that AK is guarding and literally just rim run him to the hoop every single time, as if it's not the exact same thing, but worse, because they're doing it on somebody who has no defense. Whereas if I'm rim running, it's always on somebody who has spectacular defense. Like, it's always a lockdown defender because they just put their best defensive matchup on me. Anyway, that's all for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, feel free to drop a like, sub if you're new, turn on them noties. All that good stuff. Let's try this video 1,000 likes in the first 24 hours. And this is the best part of it all. So I'm going to just let you guys see this for what it is. I'm not going to have any biased view to this. But above this is just talk of like, oh, screens take no skill, this, that, and the other. So AK replies with, you ISO with a PLAYSHARP and I will too. After the game, he asked why he didn't ISO. Again, AK's like, get on a PLAYSHARP if you want me to. So peep this. This says it all. This dude right here, don't have one. All my builds are play locks. Well, there you go. That's all for the video. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, feel free to drop a like, sub if you're new, turn on them noties, all that good stuff. Let's try this video 1,000 likes in the first 24 hours. If you made it to the very end, put Laker in the comments to show your support to made it all the way through. Other than that, hope y'all enjoyed. Take it easy, man. Peace.